There we go. Hey guys, welcome to whatever week it is here on the Real DVD Watchers on Thursdays. It's me, Tom. The movie that I've chosen to review today is something that, I was really excited going into. And then once I started watching it, I just let it slowly take over me. It actually turned to be a really creepy movie, and I really enjoyed it. But that movie in question is Insidious. Yeah, pretty much the big sleeper horror hit from the spring. The movie is written by, of course, the guys who wrote Saw and Dead Silence, James Wan and Lee Wanell, I think his name is, and it's also directed by James Wan. Basically, what happens in this movie is about this couple played by Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne, and they've just moved into this new house. And then, as they're living in this house, they start to notice like these really random occurrences, things go missing, things get knocked over, telltale signs of paranormal stuff. But it seems that all this paranormal stuff is somewhat centered around their son Dalton. And one time, Dalton has this experience where he just doesn't wake up one morning. It turns out he's in this coma, and the doctors can't really find a reason as to why Dalton's in this coma. But as these things happen, it turns out that this malevolent entity is after Dalton. Patrick Watson's character really doesn't believe what's happening to the son. He believes, there's a logical explanation, but, they end up moving houses because Rose Byrne is pretty much convinced that her house is possessed. And as they move to this new house, they start to notice that things aren't really changing. There's still all these hauntings, apparitions coming. And so they get Patrick Wilson's mother, played, of course, by Barbara Hershey, who to me is one of the main great focus points of this movie, because Barbara Hershey she's so focused in this role, and it's so interesting to see. And she pretty much explains how when Patrick Wilson's character, when he was a little kid, he was sort of tormented by this spirit too, and so she enlists the help of a local psychic and paranormal expert, played, of course, by the lovely and ever just jovial Lynn Shay, and her little helpers, of course, played by frickin' Lionel and some other guy, I forget what his name is, and they pretty much come to the conclusion that it's not the house that's possessed, it's their son, and that their son has been experiencing astral projection, and so every night he leaves his body, and of course because he's stuck in this realm called the Further, which is kind of like this reality of souls, and it turns out that he's lost in the Further, but all these horrible entities want life, and the biggest thing of all is this demon who really wants to take over and just wreak havoc on the world. So as the movie goes on, we learn that Patrick Wilson's character experienced the exact same thing, and he was almost a victim of a spirit trying to take over his body. And so it becomes Patrick Wilson's character trying to fight what comes natural to him, at the same time though he has to save his son. The main thing I want to talk about with this movie is it is so brilliant, and it's so refreshing. I mean, I've loved everything that these guys have done. The first Saw was great. Dead Silence was, in my mind, was better. And Insidious just upped the ante a little bit more, but to me, Dead Silence is still the best one out of the three. But they've also done Death Watch, which stars Kevin Bacon and Son of Flynn. But nonetheless, though, this movie is just absolutely great. The story really gets you involved, and for a PG-rated 13 movie, it's a lot of fun, and there's some really creepy elements to it. It kind of reminded me almost of Drag Me to Hell, and kind of its creepiness factor of it, how you have to rely on somewhat jump scares and jump cuts in order for your movie to be scary. I mean, the same hand, though, there's some generally really, really creepy, really intense moments, and this movie really relies a lot on the use of angles for when they're going to scare the living fuck out of you. Like, there's this one scene where Rose Byrne's character, her daughter's crying in a bedroom, and she goes upstairs, there's nothing there, and then she comes back into the baby's room, she's still crying, all of a sudden there's this dude standing there behind the baby. Or when the first time we see the red-faced demon, Barbara Hershey is explaining the story of how Patrick Wilson got caught up with this one spirit, and she just turns and looks at it, and all of a sudden she jumps up from the table, and the red demon is probably about here. You just see about this much of his face. He's like, ah! You kind of like glare, but it's just like right here, and it's so fucking scary, and just, I don't normally jump out of my seat a lot in the theater, but it had me jumping, and I was having such a fun ride. Lin Shaye is so adorable in this movie. I absolutely love Lin Shaye, especially the first time we meet her. And she's like rapping on there. She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't sure if the doorbell was working." I'm like, "Why can't you be my mom?" I fucking love Lin Shaye so much. And just of course, you know, Lee Winnell, just absolutely great. He was great in the first Saw. He's great in this too. Just great comic relief. The special effects makeup is so good on just all the malevolent creatures, all the demons, and of course that main witch woman that we all know is actually played by a dude. But nonetheless, so this movie just provides a good creep me atmosphere. Like, yeah, there are some problems with this movie. I mean, some of the storyline doesn't really add up if you watch it 100% of the way. I mean, and yeah, it does rely on jump scares, and you just want to kind of just smack, well, both Rose Byrne and freaking Patrick Wilson from time to time. But again, it's just the way how the characters are going. You know, they're trying to go for just like these realistic reactions as to what's going on. Because let's face it, most people will try to look for the logical answer in something like that as compared to the paranormal answer and something like that, which, of course, you know, I don't blame them, because as a man of logic, too, I like to think that there is logical explanation for it. But, yeah, if something paranormal was happening in my house, I'd probably get the fuck out. Not gonna lie. I love the paranormal, but that's just me. So, yeah, and just the whole direction style of the cinematography is great, especially when they're using, like, all the ghost-finding equipment, and, like, they're doing, like that. You know how, like, everyone had one of those slide things, you know, with, like, the little round disc like this, had a little picture, and you go click, and go foop, foop. When they're doing that with the colors, and all of a sudden just that one, like, ghost appears, oh, so good, and you know it's going to happen. And just the way how they use it, or when Lin Shaye is trying to talk to Dalton in the further, but then the demon catches up with her, and she's transcribing everything, and Lee's got that headset on. Such good, intense, creepy moments. To me, that creepiness was so reminiscent of Drag Me to Hell. It was just, It's really good to see people, you know, taking care and trying to creep us out more so than just make us scared. Because to me, being creeped out is far more worse than being scared. Because you get creeped out, you know, that stays with you. You're scared there for like 2 minutes and then it's done. You get creeped out, that thing feeds into your mind and it stays there. And I think that's what horror movies should try to do more so, is to creep us out. Because I think if that, you know, there'd be a lot more remaining horror movies, and there would be a lot more positive things to say about the state of horror today. Because let's face it, the state of horror today, unless it's like really like a foreign film or something like that, it's not really getting a lot of praise. It's a sad thing to say, but it's true. Or it's the movies that are like really indie with really good acting as compared to like these big budget pictures, which just have like shitty actors. Like think of like My Soul to Take and shit like that. You know, big budget but really shitty acting. Same could be even said for Piranha. Don't get me wrong, I fucking love Piranha, but really shitty acting in that movie. But nonetheless, though, Insidious, just an overall great film. If you haven't seen this yet, it's coming out on video soon. Watch it online. Please don't download this movie. If there's a theater around you that's playing it, please go out there and please put money in towards these movies. Because the more money, you know, we put into theater and stuff theaters and stuff like that, the more likely we are to get more movies like this. And let's face it, if you are a lover of horror as I am, or just a lover of film in general, you have to pay. You totally have to pay to see these films, because without, you know, those grossing funds and stuff like that, we're not going to get such great movies anymore. And that would be a shame. But again, that goes for all movies, though. You know, I'm sorry to turn this into like a big tirade about going to movies and actually paying for shit, but at the end of the day, if we're not paying for shit like that, we're not going to have any movies to bitch and whine about. And who the fuck wants to live in a world like that? I sure as fucking know I don't. So yeah, so there's my mini rant. So anyway, if I had to give Insidious a rating out of 10, it would definitely get a 7. A good, solid horror movie, you know, that just has you jumping all the time and just makes you smile ear to ear if you're a big horror fan. So even if you're not, definitely check it out. You're going to creep the fuck out. It's going to be awesome. So guys, that's the review for this week. Thanks to everyone watching and subscribed as always. You guys rock. And I will catch you guys in a week's time. Later.